Jackie Speier, Democrat of California, who serves on the committee, is with us now. Congresswoman, I know the CIA director came from your committee. He is known, well known to many of you. What can you tell us about what he had to tell you tonight, understanding most of it was probably supposed to stay in that room?
That's right. It was a wide-ranging conversation on many issues. It was more informal. It was a briefing, people asking questions, Mike Pompeo answering them. You know, he's been on the job for a short period of time, so many of the questions he was not in a position to answer them completely and would get back to us. But it was much broader than just a discussion of what's happening in the White House today. And it was during that briefing that we started to get word of the newest bombshell that hit about the Comey memo.
Well, that's what I'm going to ask you about next. A quote you can react to, and that's John McCain tonight saying that it's approaching Watergate, quote, Watergate size and scale. Your reaction?
Well, coming from Senator McCain, those are very strong words. I think that we have a very serious, dire situation, not just in terms of the status of the president and this country. It's also about what's going on around the world and how we're being perceived. The vulnerability that our enemies see right now is profound. And I fear that unless the president gets his house in order, we're going to see some dire consequences as well.
Do you think?
So, if it is in fact obstruction of justice, we're going to find out quite soon. And right now we're on a fact-finding mission to get all the information. Memos from Director Comey, tapes from the White House if they exist, and we really need to pursue every avenue.
And I always ask you about the investigation. Are you confident that the investigations that you know of underway can bring this case to justice?
Well, I want to believe that we can. We're not staffed at a level that I think we need to be staffed in order to do this investigation thoroughly and completely. We do need additional staff. We rely heavily on the intel that we receive from the CIA and from the FBI and from the NSA. So a lot will depend on whether we can develop the resources we need. We need some forensic specialists who can look into documents. We also need to see the president's tax return. What really needs to be determined here is what does Russia have on the president that he cannot bring himself to call out President Putin. He brings the foreign minister, Mr. Lavrov, and Ambassador Kislyak into the White House with a Russian photographer's casing place. I mean, it's really astonishing.
We just had a Watergate prosecutor on who said we're headed to impeachment. Do you concur?
I don't want to go there yet. But if the facts are presented to us that show obstruction of justice, then impeachment is really the only way we can go.
And finally, did any of Joe Manchin's constituents in West Virginia go back to work in a coal mine today? Did any working moms in your district get better health care today? Did any retirees in your district get a break in a new tax plan today? That is all by way of asking, what of the agenda and the business of this administration and, as a result, this Congress?
That's a very good point, Brian. You know, we're trying to generate 9,000 jobs in my district by electrifying what's called Caltrain. And it's waiting for a signature from the transportation secretary. Politics is playing a role. 9,000 jobs will be lost throughout the country if that doesn't happen.
All has to do with the engine of the train. Congresswoman Jackie Speier, California, thank you very much for being with us.